I'm Chad Taylor. You're on the Mentor podcast set. This is Human Connection. And just today, YouTube popped up, since this is our 9th episode, and said, hey, we have a specific podcast channel for you. Why don't you use it? So I did it, and it said, why don't you write a description? And I said, okay. So I wrote a description today based on what the podcast means 9 episodes in. So I'm going to read it real quick to get started, and then I'm going to introduce my very special guest. So the description of the podcast channel is: Human Connection is an intention-driven series on reconnecting people through authenticity and emotional intelligence. Not everything needs to be flashy, wealthy, or wise. Sometimes you just need to hear from humble, heartfelt humans to reaffirm that we are all connected in some way. Here you get to see all types of differing beliefs, all while still getting along and seeking to understand more about each other. If you are a fan of critical thinking, philosophy, rational, or reasonable thought, you found a channel for you. And that's Human Connections. And today I have with me Vinni LaPadula at Human Connection 9. Vinny?
What up? You know, I thought about this the other day. You are probably, besides myself, the only person that pronounces my name with like so much just like Italianness. You know what I'm saying?
With emphasis.
Yeah. Like you put it in there. You put the doula in it, man. So thank you for that. That's kind of cool. I like that.
I think you taught me that.
It's probably, yeah. Like I got to bring like some East Coastness, I guess, into, I don't know, my West Coast life or something. So
I like that. And so that, I got to breathe a little bit here.
got a lot of words out there, man.
Yeah. A lot of
They were
words.
good ones, though.
Appreciate that. This, so everybody knows, Vinny and I met, well, let's make a correction for the last episode. I think I said with Frank something about 27 years, but you and I have known each other longer than any of it. How many years have we known each other?
I think it was 98, 99. So what is that, 24, 25 years, something like that?
Right.
Yeah, man. I was like just a kid. I think I just like turned 18 or something. I think I just graduated high school, something around there.
Yeah. So I had mentioned 27 years in the last podcast that I had known Frank, but it was actually 24 years.
Yeah, no one counts time that much, so
Yeah.
I'm just weird with it sometimes.
For sure.
You know?
Your memory's good, though. It's like, was it an elephant? Is that the ones that have the memory?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got one of the best memories I've ever seen. So that's good. That's what's going to make today so enjoyable is your memory. So,
Well, I thought just what's going to make today just so enjoyable is just our authentic. If I could talk right now, authenticity, right? I mean, we're probably two of the realest people that are out there, you know?
You have definitely are one of the most authentic people I've ever known, and I mentioned it in the last episode as well with Frank. I think you watched it, and
I watched them all.
said that you were the best friend anybody could ever ask for.
Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, I think I said you were pissing me off today, but must have just been in the moment.
No, I mean, we all man straight a little bit sometimes, though.
So
You know what I mean?
me more than others for sure. So we met. You were the first person I met after I'd moved here to Las Vegas with my best friends at the time, Brett and Josh, and I was working out the lake and I ended up getting fired out there for not good reasons, and I ended up in Vegas, and you were the first person that I ran into. So let's talk a little bit about how we met, and then I want to get into basically quite a bit about. Not quite a bit, but a bit about your childhood. I say quite a bit with you because I know we could probably spend about a 4-hour 4-hour podcast.
Yeah, right. Like, you know, I hope you guys brewed a pot of coffee.
Right.
We talking today, man.
I want to talk about your upbringing, you know, where you hail from, and then how you ended up in Vegas and some of the things that have happened over that time, because I also tell people that you are one of the most inspiring people in my life because of what you've gone through and how you've handled yourself through those trials. So I want to talk about that stuff. So let's start back with just childhood and where's Vinny come from?
I mean, let's see. Born 1980, January 20th, San Antonio, Texas. Mother, Cindy. Father, Vincent LaPadula. See, mother and father, man, they were like super young. I want to say my pops was 21 and my mom 20. And not just like 20, like 20 years old. Like her birthday's January 2nd. Like she was basically 19 plus 20, like 18 days.
Right.
Like she was like young, right? Man, if I think back to like when we were like 20 and 21, no way, right? It's just can't think about it. But so I don't really have a strong. So Pops bounced like a year after I was born, somewhere around there, right? I might be wrong with the year, but I mean he was gone like instantly, and so like some of my earliest memories that I have as like a kid were definitely my mother, but more like my grandparents were like kind of right there in my lives. You know what I mean? I'm talking like I have memories from like 4 years old, like seeing where we lived like in San Antonio and stuff.
That's probably why you were so close to your grandmother for years. I remember you going to see her a lot.
Yeah. So then my mother ended up meeting somebody else in 1984, got married. His name was Gordon, my sister's father. So then my sister Chelsea was born in 1984. And then he bounced 85, something like that. And my mother met James, and Brandon was born. That's Brandon's father. So they were together for like a year. Then I think something happened. I don't want to say that James left. I think something just happened. They just weren't right. You know,
yeah.
My mom and them broke up, and then stepdad number, what is that now? 3 came into the picture, and he was around for a couple years, and that one was bad. That's one that I remember, because now at this time in my life I'm like 8, and I don't know, maybe I had like a little bit, I don't know, I felt like a little older. My mom gave me a little bit more responsibilities, like I was like watching over Chelsea and stuff like that, even like 8 years old. You should
be paying your own rent.
No doubt, right? Like doing laundry and stuff. But I remember I'm sorry if I'm putting this out there, but like he put his hands on my mom.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing a lot of that stuff.
Right.
And it was bad. And I remember like my grandfather stopping it. Like I watched it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like looking out, like supposed to be, in bed, looking out the windows, watching my grandfather teach this man a lesson.
Right.
And it stopped, and it was cool. And it was like, but at this time too, my mom like left, and she left me with my grandparents. I remember I'm skating in our like cul-de-sac. I remember like I had just got this like sweet new, I mean, this was like Tommy Guerrero, Powell Peralta board. I'm out front, I'm skating. I'm 8 years old, my grandparents pull up and they bounce. They took me like from my mom. Like my mom was just, things were not good.
Right.
Like, this is, late 80s and stuff. Well, then mom comes back in from Florida. And at this time, I want to say there was a little bit of a recession kind of happening in San Antonio. I know my grandparents, like their businesses weren't doing so well. And construction was booming in Las Vegas. Like the casinos were being built. Like this is the time when Vegas was becoming mega resorts. And my
mob money.
yeah. Like, well, no, this is like mob kind of out. I mean, like Steve Wynn was
Mormon
building
money.
garage
Got
and
it.
stuff like that, right? And houses were just going outrageous. And my grandparents and my uncle, they have a background in construction, and they were just going where the money is. And so our family was so tight that when the grandparents moved out here, we followed right behind. And that was in 1989. And dude, let me tell you about a culture shock. Because, I mean, San Antonio, Texas, even though kind of being like a little bit, like it's a bigger city than Vegas.
Yeah. It
didn't have like, I mean, obviously it doesn't have lights. I mean, we got an Alamo, you know what I'm saying? It didn't have all these things. And
I remember.
I will tell you, I lived in a part of San Antonio that was, let's call it affluent, but it's funny, like we were like the Sanfords on the block. Like we had this like crap house, but then the houses around us were beautiful. I remember I got a lawnmower, and I used to go around and I would knock on the doors and I would mow lawns for like $10.
Yeah, that was late 80s.
$10, dude. I was killing it.
Right.
I'd just go straight to the comic book store, buy comic books and skateboard stuff. You know what I mean? It was
Something
great,
I never got into is the comic book thing.
No?
Actually, just now, at this age, I'm getting into comic books.
I love it.
It's weird.
No, I don't. And it's. I feel like we get into things, or we only know things as kids because of people that influence us, right? Yeah. And my uncle is 10 years younger than my mom. But so he was the youngest in the family. So then whenever I was born, he was 10, right? So it's like my mom is 20 years older than me. My uncle is 10 years older than me. So like it was Vincent and Wayne, right? Like we were the youngsters in there. And so like I kind of grew up with him as like my older brother.
Got it.
You know, because I remember, man, I'm 6 years old and he handed me License to Ill by the Beastie Boys.
Right.
Changed my life, right? Got me into music, got me into skateboarding, and comic books. That was his big thing.
I got handed Too Short. Maybe that's where we went differently.
No, trust me. He also gave me Straight Outta Compton many years later, though. So I mean, but yeah, that's what I feel like. I feel like the things that we're into, as kids, they stay with us only because of like how you were influenced from others around you. You know.
So was the Beastie Boys, when you guys came from Texas and you came to Vegas and the whole family came out here, was that the Beastie Boys? Was that the start?
No, I mean that was well, I mean Beastie Boys era, late 80s. We moved out here in December. Here's a memory thing. It was December 19th, 1989.
Day before your birthday.
No, a month before. Right before.
January 6th.
But it was crazy though, because I remember it was like we were out here for like New Year's Eve. And New Year's Eve in Vegas, it's like, you know what I mean? And here I am, like 9 years old. And when we moved to a part of town that's not great. And like I was like, what the hell is now? And I was without my mother. My mother stayed back in Texas. So I'd only come out here with my grandparents and my sister.
Okay.
Mom was like a couple months later. And yeah, dude, shit was a trip, dude. It was just like, okay. Having the backbone of your grandparents was huge, right? And then like now your mom is out here, but then it's like we had to go and find a place to live. And I remember it was on the east side of Vegas first. And then we were like bouncing all around Vegas until 95.
And when you mean 95, and I graduated in 96, that makes sense. So when you mean bouncing around Vegas too, you mean bouncing around Vegas. You talk about some of the sides of town and places and schools and Clark, and you talk about stuff that even though I've been here for 28 years, I still I don't know those sides of towns, but you've been on them all.
Dude, 7th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade.
Oh, the golden years.
I went to 3 different schools. And what I mean is I lived on the east side for one semester, the west side for the other semester, back to the east side for a semester, back to the west side, and then I went to a high school. And it was crazy. And you know, it's funny because my stepsister and I, we were talking about like looking back at our childhood and like, you know, even things that could be a little crappy, right? You're like, you don't want to change them though, because that's kind of like what makes you who you are and stuff like that, right? I have best friends and good friends all over this city now because I went back and forth like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's really cool. And it's also a way just like, I don't know, I got to experience different things, you know? There was different walks of life on different sides of the town. You know what I mean? And shit, then when I moved to Henderson, that was like totally different because in that time in the 90s, like when we met, Henderson was new, man.
So you were new to Henderson when we met.
We moved out to Henderson in 95, and then, I think you and I was newer, let's say.
Yeah, a couple
you know
years.
what I mean? And it's crazy because, like, as a skateboarder in 1990, something, like, really tragic had happened that made, so I'll back up just a little bit more. So then, bouncing all over town and whatnot, mom kind of working from this job to that job, and that's kind of what moved us back and forth. She met my current father now, and he got a job opportunity to move out to Henderson, and at the same time I was getting into trouble, like with some like some pretty hard gang activity. Like it was like guns were coming out and stuff like that. And I had got shot at pretty bad like one night, and that's when they were like, Jim was taking that job and we were bouncing.
Right.
And so when this was happening, so here's what's kind of funny. Henderson was talking about banning skateboarding. And I was like, I'm not moving to Henderson, I can't skate. You know, my mom was like, dude, you're gonna die. You know what I mean? If we don't move you. And it's kind of funny because not only do I say that Henderson kind of did save my life,
Yeah.
because of the whole like gun kind of thing that was going on. But people that I was running around with then got into hard drugs early on in life,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them didn't see past 19. And I know I probably would have done that too. So that's where I'm like, you know what? Because when I moved out to Henderson too, I kind of took like a step back away from the craziness of like West Las Vegas, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, it was a trip, because then it was all I had to focus on was skateboarding. That's all, and like school and obviously friends and stuff like that. But it's like it wasn't, dude. Because summer of '94, '95, it was like wake up, skate to the corner store, steal a 40-ounce of Mickey's. And like a pack of cigarettes. Remember when cigarettes used to be up at the front counter, and you'd be like, hey, what's that? And you're like, you know what I mean? And it was like, that was the day, you know what I mean? I was like 14, 15 years old, man, you know what I mean? And when I moved out to Henderson, like I didn't I don't know, it was just the people I was hanging around with. Remember like Ronnie, Dan Murphy, actually he's not with us anymore, Gilbert Gonzalez, Eric, all like high school, like buddies and stuff, you know what I mean?
Who's the doctor's kid? that
That's
lived
Mike.
on Warm Springs.
Yeah, that's Mike, and actually, he's back in town now. We're talking about getting back together.
I would
That's
love
Mike.
to reconnect with that dude.
Yeah. No, let's just say that's a funny time in our life too. He's different now. He's a family man.
That's what I like to see. Most of us.
He
ended
had
up
big
there.
dreadlocks. It's
Yeah.
funny. I was just telling somebody the other day. I'm like, yeah, Mike had big dreadlocks, and I think it was Justin. He was like, oh, really? White guy with dreadlocks? I'm like, dude's 99,
Yeah.
What was up?
Yeah, he didn't fit the mold when we showed up at that house. I was like,
Yeah,
this is
totally,
a
right?
enormous house, and this young man, we're all kids at that age, but he didn't fit. I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah. No, man, I got a lot of friends in my lives that are just, you look back and you're just like, crap.
Yeah. So this is around 15, 16 years old. You guys move out to Henderson. Your mom obviously has a new man, Jim.
Yep.
And that's what shows me, that's what I know about you. And, I saw you start to tear up a little bit when you talk about Jim, because he's a powerful man. We just had his retirement party the other day. And, what a great human.
Yeah, when you sit back and you think that you've done something in your life, right? Just know that, like, there's people out there like himself, like work ethic. I think you and I both have a pretty strong work ethic, right? He is like the epitome of it, dude, and it's crazy. Like 50 years doing the same thing. And you remember back in the day when we worked with him, and he used to be like, it's not who you are, it's just what you do. And I'm like, really? Because you kind of are that guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, it's crazy. No.
So he started some stability out there for you. You must have.
Well, so he was. It's kind of funny though, because there was only one person in my life that never left, and that was my grandfather.
Mm.
Everyone else did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, men-wise, right? Everyone else left. Now, granted, Brandon's father, that was an odd situation, because he didn't leave. The situation just left, let's say, right? I don't want to call my mother out again or anything, but they just broke up. That's what happened, right? Yeah. My grandfather, he was always around. And then, so I was guarded until when my grandfather passed away in '97. Jim didn't leave. That's when I went, that's my dad.
Right. I remember.
And it's kind of funny too, because people have said, like, the other day that somebody was like, "Oh, you guys look alike," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's because we're both gray-haired now."
Yeah. When they tell Rod and I that, they're like, "You guys look alike." I'm like, "He's an Indian. I'm not." It's crazy. I mean, it obviously doesn't appear, but if you look at
it could necessarily be too, just like our mannerisms are starting to.
Mannerisms,
yeah, totally. The laws of attraction, or you hang around people, the more you start acting like them, kind of thing like that, though. But yeah, it's funny because I thought about that. I remember the day my grandfather died. It was sad, and I was like, oh no, father figure, like, gone out of my life. But then, like I said, like, Jim, he didn't leave, and I was just like, cool. And our relationship, as I got older, it got stronger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, it's the best that it is. You know, like that is my dad. Like, there's no stepdad shit in our household. It's like,
Right.
why? You know what I mean? And like my stepsisters and, you know, my brothers and my sisters, right?
Yeah.
We have different fathers. Not in our house, dude. Don't call it that. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's no halvesies.
All right. That's a good stop right there. That time frame. That I like to see it. So we're gonna stop for a minute because we break these up into 20-minute sections.
Damn, that was 20 minutes.
But I wanna see when you look at the situation, kind of when we hear our stories, and then you look at how we became friends or what we've gone through and what happened, and you look back and how life started and what we went through. It's amazing how the more people you talk to, the more similar their upbringings, you see them, they're attracted to each other later on in life in some form of fashion, whether it's in a relationship, a friendship, right, whatever it is. And that's crazy how when you're young and you're looking for male, role models as a young male, and you're going out and you're getting in trouble because you don't have them. And then when one shows up in your life that stays and is stuck, you start to think about changing your ways, right? There's some guidance there. There's a mentor. There's something. So I find that as a very intriguing, thought, if you will. So we got a real good blast of like your upbringing and where you're from and what's going on, and we got to the point where you're in Henderson. Jim shows up into your life, which I'm a fan of to this day, and your mom, and you're in Henderson. Let's go a little bit into you're in Henderson. What happens in Henderson?
You know, so I still stayed friends with others from around the city, even guys that I knew like from junior high.
Right.
Mike Wolfenbarger.
Yeah.
You know, groomsman at my wedding.
Good.
Right?
He's
like,
a good dude.
Straight up. So like, I don't know. I just you meet good people, you stay friends with them. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like, why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in Henderson, it was like, oh my gosh, here I am now. I'm kind of like another start over. You know what I mean? And I was just like, whatever.
Just like whatever. That's what we do as kids, right? Like, what do we know at that age? All we know is, okay, just keep going.
Yeah, exactly. But here's like, it was really cool. I remember like the day I met Ronnie. It was the first week of high school. I'm a sophomore, basic high school, Henderson. I didn't really know anybody, but back in the day, you could tell what cliques were what, right? I was a skateboarder, so I would walk around and you could look at that guy and know that he was a skateboarder also, right? And I started to kind of meet some people, and it was like, okay. So that first week was, I was riding the bus because I was only 15 years old and I didn't have a driver's license yet and stuff. And there was an assembly. I didn't want to go to the assembly because I'm like, those are dumb kind of things, whatever. So I remember I went and sat out front of the school. And I had a sketchbook, and I was just sitting there drawing, and I remember Ronnie, like, walked up on me, and he was like, you need a ride? And I was like...
Creeper.
Like, of course, dude, I'm sitting here, and he was like, you want to go skate? And I was like, hell yeah, let's go. Like, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, that, friends from that day on, like, it was... And that's once, like, he was a little older. I think he also graduated in 96 and had a car, and like he would pick all of us up and we'd all go skateboarding, and it was just like, that's what we did. We just skated like every day.
I don't you just celebrated I had a celebration for Ronnie for his passing. How many years now?
2005. What's that, 18 years?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, talk about life just fly by,
Yeah, and Ronnie, I hadn't heard you tell that story either about how you'd met Ronnie, but that would be a perfect example of who Ronnie was. I mean,
It's direct.
I am only in the business that I am today, or learned the things that I did, because Ronnie taught me Photoshop. Probably that many, 19, 20 years ago.
Dude, for real, huh?
He taught me Photoshop. That was the first thing he taught me. He was a designer. Strictly Tent Cards, I think it was, or something.
Yeah, the Strictly Graphics ones.
Strictly Graphics, yeah.
Do you remember that job
Yeah.
that you guys worked on together that was a pain in the ass? I remember it too to this day. It was BJ Crummel's like truck decals. Some crazy like tribal design that went down the side of it and stuff. Like he
Yeah.
had designed. I remember it just being a pain. I don't know, for some reason, just it was like the design and stuff was hectic.
Yeah,
But
it was
I
all
don't know, it's
new.
just-
But Ronnie was awesome. So you met Ronnie. You're running through high school. You make it through high school. You graduate.
I did graduated. I actually I can't say that all I did was skate, because like I held down a job couple jobs. Like, of course, I did a fast food thing, and then I worked at the movie theater. Actually, it's funny. The same movie theater I still go to this day.
Yeah.
I was like head usher. Like, loved my job, and I took a lot of school. Ronnie was graduating early, and he showed me how to do it also. And I was like, okay, cool. And I think back, like, did I want to graduate early because I was ready to just get on with my life? Or was I just kind of there with my friends because I started taking the same classes he was taking? It's kind of weird when I think back to it, right? But yeah, man, I was taking 11 classes a day my junior year, and I graduated at the semester of my senior year.
Right.
And went straight to work. And was just like, okay, this is what we do now. You go straight to work,
Right.
Like I had bills to pay and stuff. You know what I mean? Like my parents kind of
40s to buy.
No, no, I did have a fake ID at this time, so I think I was actually buying booze.
Yeah, we used to get them from the swap meet here in Vegas.
I still like, I don't know, my parents and my grandparents, they like, because I started working when I was 12 years old with my uncle roofing houses. Because
I'm glad you didn't say roofing people.
No, not roofing. No, that was not until like 2002.
Right.
No, because my mom like didn't have, like, she was a single mother, right? She had to take care of like young kids and stuff, right? And like skateboards are expensive, and like clothes are expensive. You know what I mean? And I wanted cool stuff, right? So I started working with my uncle, and my uncle was paying like pretty well, but roofing was hard. You know what I mean? So, I would start to buy a lot of my own stuff, and it's funny, they never asked me to like contribute in the house, which was great, but my mom would be like, buy your own skateboard, and I remember like my first car, or one of my first cars, I actually bought from my grandmother. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you needed to put gas in that thing, you had to have a job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, that's how we get by. Like, we were from a family that didn't have a lot,
Right.
So yeah, dude. So yeah, graduated early, went straight to work. I kind of, college was there. I took some classes. I took like some business classes and things, and I just was like, because I was looking at some larger schools, and I was looking at some universities and stuff like that, and like I was kind of on that track that I was gonna do it, but I just didn't really. I was scared. I didn't want to be away from my family.
Yeah.
And my friends. So I never did. I just started working. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And kind of, I don't know, learning and living,
How many jobs?
That's about the time that we met, I think.
Yeah, how many jobs did you have before the Home Depot? I think I met you when you were working at Home Depot.
The theater, the movie theater.
That's right.
Well, let's call it tax-paying jobs. When I worked with my uncle roofing houses,
Right.
it was just some money.
Was the theater happen to be the Tropicana theaters by chance?
No, Sunset Station, Regal Cinemas.
All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
love that job.
So you're working at Home Depot. So you have a girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
This is when we meet. It's part of the story, I know.
Yeah, so I met a girl at Matt Hernandez's wedding, and we hit it off. It was cool. We were hanging out for like a month together, and she got sick.
Yeah.
And she went to the doctor, and she comes back from the doctor, and she's like, I'm pregnant, and I'm freaking out.
Right.
And she's like, but I'm like 2 months pregnant. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing the math now. And I'm like, this is not my baby.
Less freaking out now?
Yeah. Totally like subtracting the one and going, this is now my baby, right? And I don't know, man. It's like we were like having such a good time that I was like, I'm going to stay around. I'm going to help you with this kid. And I thought back to myself of like having, because the father, I knew him.
Mm-hmm.
I still know him to this. Well, I know of him. I don't actually talk to him or anything, but I knew him, and he wasn't going to be in the family, right? Or he wasn't going to be in the picture. So I was like, I'm going to be here, because I think back to like men that weren't in my life, right? That fathers that left, right? This is me at like 18 years old. I'm like, I'm going to be a father. I'm going to be a father to this kid. So she was pregnant and working at the Galleria Mall.
Right.
And I think that's where she met
Vanessa.
Yes. I'm sitting here. I was going to call her daughter's name.
Yeah.
I think we gave her a ride home or something.
So the funny story about that is you're with this girl. I have a best friend who left a girl behind like got her pregnant and then bolted, took off to New York with another chick, like completely scared, ran away. And I'm saying that out loud. I'm not going to say who it was, but he just bolted. I felt so much for this young girl. Like, well, she was my age at the time, but I said I felt so bad, and I was already in a relationship with somebody else, and I was like, it wasn't a romantic relationship. We weren't attracted to each other in that fashion, but I just felt for her. So I was like, I'm gonna take care of her, right? Mm-hmm. So she had nowhere to go. So she moved in with me, and she was working at the mall, and those two girls met.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you showed up at my house one day.
Yeah, I want to say, like, I remember, like, giving Vanessa a ride home, because we lived real close to each other.
Yep, and you showed up.
And then I think I kicked it with Brett first.
Got it.
Over at the mall. And Brett was like, you need to meet Chad. And I was like, whatever, if he's like you, then you're cool, let's be cool, let's do this. And, like, I was like, well, I just like meeting people. And, then...
And you showed up at the apartment, in the house, and you haven't left since.
Yeah, right? Like, that's crazy.
Try a little humor to that.
No, exactly.
I'm glad you haven't. But that was a cool time. And knowing that, and I've kind of put a little bit of my backstory out on here somewhat from my childhood, I think people might connect in the future how you and I became such good friends. Because people would always say to me, you and Vinny, like, people would say to me, I envy your relationship with Vinny. They'd say that. They'd say, how is that so close? And I never knew or understood. We just were. Mm-hmm. And I think that our backgrounds play a part in that. And I think that also
definitely. Yeah, there's some obviously synergy through what we kind of went through, and just we were very similar in like what we wanted to do. Like, I mean, if you think back from like 99 to like, you know, even the early 2000s, we wanted to party, dude.
Yeah, we were having some fun.
Doing it. You know what I mean? We were having fun.
So
because we were like, we're older, but we're still kids.
So we're similar people, probably emotionally, probably in so many ways that I can't even express. We're probably very similar. We hit it off. We're hanging out. We're having a good time. We're ready to we're taking on the world. I end up getting in a little bit over my head and into some things. Mm-hmm. You're there and involved as much as you can be involved, essentially. And I don't know how much. Yeah. And kind of watch that all happen. And tell me what that was. What was that time like for you? Those years, those four. I would say it's probably a couple years from Strictly on. I never really. I always wonder how me doing bad stuff affected other people, either positive or negatively, and what kind of.
Well, I mean, the weird thing was, I mean, because I'm still over here working at Home Depot. You were working at Let's Talk Wireless, and then all of a sudden, you were like gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, where the hell is Chad? And then all of a sudden, you were back, and you had things. like you went off and did some things. And
I don't even remember what I had.
You had that expedition.
Oh yeah. That was a good one.
And you had like this almost like, I'm gonna take over the fucking world type attitude.
Yeah.
Because whatever you went out and seen, like it was, and Vin, I want to tell you a little bit about it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I remember it. I was like, I want to know. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And like, you had gotten a taste for
money.
Definitely, right?
Taste of money, women, drugs, you name it.
And like, I was like, I want to taste too. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I remember watching that because like you were kind of in and out. You were doing your thing and whatnot. And like I was still working and partying and kind of doing my thing and whatnot. And then like I remember getting the call from you. Called me the night you got busted.
Did I?
Yeah. Because I remember looking and I remember answering, and it was a collect call. You needed Christy's phone number. And I gave it to you. Because I remember I was living with Keith and John, and like we were having a party. It was like a Friday night, whatever, and I had to like go outside, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell? And it was like came over me, and I was like, what the hell just happened, right? But yeah, I remember, what was it, a couple weeks later, you guys coming back, and like shit was just different. Because like I said, previous, you were like taking over the world, and then when you came back, you were defeated.
Oh yeah.
And you were like, you had like no hair. You had shaved your head.
The federal government telling you can't no longer be a human.
Oh yeah.
Definitely has an effect.
Yeah, and I remember you came over to my apartment and you were like, look, we're not going to talk for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm good. And you gone. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, so and we'll get into the part of that story, but I was selling ecstasy, which you know. I was selling a lot of it, and it was worldwide. It wasn't just local. Like there was overseas travel, and there was mob, and I think actually in my documents, there was a lot to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the lesson for me in it, and I want to say this publicly with you, is it was one of me getting caught at that time was the biggest blessing that could have ever come my way. Because I don't think it was a few weeks before I get caught that I tried to pull you in. Like really pull you in.
A couple months, I think. So
was it a couple months?
Yeah, it was like it was gonna. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it was like I'm gonna step up or over or where I'm going, and I need you to take over this, this, and this, and that would have changed your life forever.
Right.
And that is when I learned that if you love your friends, that's when I learned the gang mentality and the growing up, and I got your back, and I'm here for you, and I'll do time for you, and we're brothers and we're bros. That's when I learned, sitting in solitude, man, if I really cared for Vin, I would have never asked him to get in this, because what happens to you when you get in trouble, I would never wish upon my greatest enemy. But yet I was trying to bring my best friend into it. And I think that was that was a moment for me. For when I look back on it, I am so grateful that I got in trouble and you weren't allowed to really step into that role.
Right.
Because it would have
like
been
we're
bad.
writing a movie right now. I mean, no, obviously, you're no, thank you so much. I mean, and like, talking about like, not bringing me in and stuff like that. But I mean, the way we're even talking about like, I was doing this and I was bringing you in here and so it does. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? Or like, yeah, that shit was happening, dude. And it was,
that was crazy.
But like, so then you were like, I'm going to start a tent company. And I was like, okay, cool. Window tinting's cool, right? And I was like, and I was just still like, you guys had started the tent company and I was still working at Home Depot. I was like department head now. And I was on this track to like do great things, blah, blah, blah. But like, I remember you going, you know what, dude? You could do so much better. And that's when I was like, all right, I remember I walked into...
Wait a minute. So I'm getting ready to go to prison. I'm on pretrial, and I'm telling you can do so much better.
Yeah, but you were like, no, you should come over here and sell tent.
I'm done.
You're great at sales and this and that. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I think there's obviously a part of me that's like, I'm done with Home Depot, right? Because I mean, I was working my bones off, dude, and like I'm like 22 years old, just killing myself, right? But that is funny now you talk of it like that. Yeah, so I came to, I remember walking into, his name was Daryl Todd. He was my manager at Home Depot. And I had just had a review, and like it wasn't a good review. So I mean, I may have been working hard, but I was not doing well. You know what I mean? I think I found cocaine at that time. In my life.
You were dabbling in all kinds of stuff.
Like,
I was playing it with you. Just
yeah.
No,
it was like
I was the super illegal.
Exactly right. And so I had a bad review, and then you're over here telling me like I should come work at Strictly Tent, and right, and like I walk into his office, and this is funny. You'll like this too, because I walk in, and after I had that bad review, he was like, well, let's just, let's re-review you in like a month. I know you can do better, right? So then like, I think that night you and I talk, I walk into his office like the next day, and I was like, hey, I thought about things a little more, and I'm going to give you my 2-week notice. And he's like, what the hell, right? So the reason why I say this is I ran into him 10 years later.
Oh, wow.
At a concert. And he's looking at me, he's like, why do you look familiar? And I'm like, oh, dude, Daryl Todd, I'm Vinny. And he goes, dude, I'll never forget the day you quit. He's like, that blindsided me pretty bad. No, but that was actually really funny. And,
So my infinite wisdom and all my education and valor, I got you to quit your job to come on some dream of mine that wasn't even real, and you did.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I could have stayed with Home Depot and been running a store and making 6 figures a year.
I'm an ass.
But no, I don't know, man. Actually, because, if you... if where things ended up and how they ended up, I wouldn't have been doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All
right. So.
Yeah.
That everything happens for
like
a
that
reason.
was like just I don't know, great moments in my life though. Like that job was amazing. You know what I mean? And like a lesson of like customer service was like a huge big thing, you know, working at Home Depot. And so like I try to give that now in my like day-to-day life now, you know what I mean? So no, it was great. You know what I mean? And obviously coming to work with you taught me how to be a great salesperson. You know what I'm saying?
I think you were a great salesperson before. I just recognized that you were a great salesperson. I probably fancied myself as one as well at that time in my life.
Yeah, we were ice-water Eskimo
so
kind of guys.
I think I was recognizing how talented you were, and I was like, I need a ride or die. So this guy.
Well, and plus, man, the tent company, we were having fun. Like it was cool. Like we sold tent and we had fun, and it was cool. And we, you know, that was a great part of our life, man. We met a lot of cool people too while doing that stuff. You know, that we're still friends today, like Frank.
And we did all of that while I was on pretrial.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So that's I kind of think about that, and your life's hanging in the balance for me of going away, and yet we're still messing around. Like I still wasn't a good person, right? I didn't get it yet. It wasn't real.
Yeah, we were still dabbling, and you had it down to what color they would call on what day, so you knew when you could party. Yeah, and it was crazy.
They had a good system.
Yeah, but you still knew how to break it a little bit.
Yeah, I like breaking systems.
Yeah.
All right, so we get to the part strictly. I'm going to take a quick break real quick, grab a drink of water. We're going to come right back. 3, 2, 1. You're always the best of that, Bri. I love that. Thanks for doing that for us. All right, so we're back. We're at strictly tent. I'm on pretrial.
Yeah.
It's my first real business, like with a business license and those kind of things. And I'm gonna give it a go, legit. And while I go through pretrial comes, federal court stands up. They say, yeah, you're not invincible, Chad. You did the crime.
Now it's time to go away.
You did the crime. You're gonna do the time, and I gotta go away. We find a guy with a glass shop. I sell.
It's kind of funny. You were like, okay, so now we have to either close the business or sell it, and I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah. You found the
glass shop kid.
Yeah, Glass Pros.
Him and his dad.
Yeah,
Chris.
Yeah, Chris and Lee Souders. I think
sold my first business for a very small amount of money, but I always say it was my first exit. I think it was like 40 grand or 50 grand or something, right? It was just like the first sale. I was like, okay, I built something and I sold it. That's probably where I got the confidence to be an absolute idiot for the rest of my life. And so I was like, oh wait, you can build something and sell it? This is easy. So I get locked up. I'm going away. What happens now?
So you went away. And I'm over here like, well, wait a minute. I kind of like this like selling tent kind of thing. And Pops was over at BJ's Glass. Mm-hmm. And so they were thinking about bringing in like a tent division, right? And I really think it's like maybe, because I don't think they wanted to be in the tinning business. I think it was just like Jim was looking for me to kind of keep, something going, right? So I came over there with them and we started BJ's window tinning while you were gone.
That's right.
That went great for a summer until it dropped under 85 degrees and nobody bought tinning anymore. They were like, well, what do we do now? And I'm like, well, we figure something else out. Right. Like you guys want to sell stickers now or something? And that's when, so you were still gone. And that's when I got in the glass business then.
Got it.
And you were gone for 1 year, 2 years?
3 all in all. So yeah, year inside, year halfway house, year house arrest.
Right, because did you remember when you went into the halfway house though? You came and worked with me at BJ's Glass. Mm-hmm. That was fun because we were both just kind of like learning the glass business and like figuring it out and like learning how to do takeoffs and stuff like that. And it was cool. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like now we're working. It wasn't just us. We were working around a bunch of people, John and Jim and all those different guys and stuff. Yeah, Jeff. All right, wow. So, yeah, that was...
And you were running pretty hard with Ronnie still, so I was gone for a while, so I came back. You had kind of formed I wouldn't say a new group of friends, but you kind of had your thing going on, so I was I was back, but I wasn't really...
Well, you know what they say, we're social butterflies, man. We fly around and find people and stuff,
Right. So you and Ronnie, I feel like you left Thailand or something.
We went to Thailand in
Yeah.
2004. Um, yeah, man, and that was a crazy thing because like I didn't think I was coming back. Well, at least I don't know. I had this like idea. I was screwing off, doing life, the bad way, I guess, and I got let go. Jim fired me
Good for him.
from BJ's class, and I remember walking home.
Yet another thing we have in common.
I called Ronnie, and I was like, dude, I just got fired. And he was like, what the hell? You're the only one in our crew that really has a job. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, well, I'm on my way to Thailand. Do you want to go? And I'm like, of course. I got nothing to do. Let's go.
Right.
Well, I got on a plane and I went.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to go over there and make some money. And I was going to take that money and I was going to backpack through Asia and Europe.
That's right.
Like I was 24 years old, and I thought I had the world figured out, and I was getting $25,000 was going to make my life complete.
That was when they were paying, like people were marrying or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Remember that? Okay.
No,
Never happened.
Needless to say, I'm glad it
Yeah.
never actually
Yeah.
happened, but I spent 2 weeks over in Asia, had an amazing time. I prayed with Buddhist monks. I went to some really, really cool cultural type stuff. I mean, to this day, I love Thai food and love actually being there in Thailand. Like it was amazing.
Mm.
I came back 2 weeks later. I remember my mom didn't know I was going until I called her from like China, like on a
Nice.
layover, and she was freaking out. Like, what do you mean you're in China? And I'm like, well, I'm not going to be here long. I'm on my way to Thailand. You know? But yeah, that was cool. And then we came back and we just kind of like we just went right to it. I want to say though, like that time that I spent over there, I kind of cleared my head a little bit and like got my my head back on, and I went back to work with Jim
Mhm.
like a couple months later.
Got it.
And that time that I was there with him, like I really started to learn the business
It started to grow up a little bit
a little bit.
because you had somebody there helping.
Yeah, because it was like, because before when I worked for my dad, I was just this little punk ass kid that was working for my dad, right? When my dad fired me, now I was a man. That our relationship didn't matter.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Like he held me accountable. That's I think when I started learning accountability and shit too. You know what I mean? Because like when I came back, like I was different. Like I still had to party, drink, and stuff like that. But yeah, like work wise, I started to kind of be a little bit better at it. You
Yeah.
know?
So you did glass for a while.
Yeah, I think I put about, I want to say 10 years in the glass and glazing industry.
Okay.
I still miss it a little bit. Not going back though, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I miss it. It's just it was interesting.
Along-
Building, you know.
Along that 10 years, how many did you meet some people along the way that have been influential in your life? Like,
Oh, 100%,
I
man.
know Jim. Is it Andy?
Andy Gates?
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys that I worked with over at New World West, man. Andy, his father, Andy Jr. Yeah, man, there was Mike Carlson, that was a pretty big part of my life. Nick from Pinnacle Glass and his wife Megan, like really good friends. Yeah, dude, I mean, it's like, see, that's the thing. No matter, I feel like you're making friends everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like your coworkers, because you're around them so much, right? They
Yeah.
become your friends.
But you're
it's just
also-
whether or not you like decide to put them on the Christmas card list, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like we said when we started, though, you're also the best friend anybody can have. So,
I just try to be cool and nice.
you did a good job at it. So anybody was lucky to have that. So that was a good 10 years of where you kind of started growing up and getting rid of the crap and
Yeah, but I mean,
we're still partying. We're still having some fun.
I mean, Ronnie passed away in 2005. Yeah, dude, 2005 was bad, like real bad. Because my sister passed away in January, and Ronnie passed away in March. And I was just like 25 years old and devastated. Like, what the hell?
Was
You know what I'm saying?
Was I locked up?
I think you were.
Yeah, I wasn't around for that.
No, because I mean, you didn't go to his funeral or
No.
Jennifer's. I mean,
Right.
so yeah, I don't know where but I know it was definitely bad. Because I want to say then in 2000, maybe later on that year, is when you were out in Pahrump.
Yeah, that's right. 2005, 2006. Yeah, that would work.
Around
Yeah, but I
there.
wasn't around when Ronnie had passed. I remember that. And that was a pivotal moment in your life. So when you say, like, when I look at your life as a whole, or the years that I've known you, I felt like that was a time when you kind of started letting loose a little bit more. I felt like you kind of reverted back. It's like you kind of had
Should
things
have taken
going.
it like as a sign, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to chill the hell out because like I mean he died of a drug overdose,
Right.
you know? It's like the opiate things were like real big at that time. And like I mean, shit, dude, I look back and I think, dude, I should have died so many times because we were mixing drugs like it was nothing. It was just freaking colored Skittles, you know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, he just found two that just didn't mix well,
Yeah.
him being a little bigger guy too, it just like he didn't wake up, man. You know?
Yeah. And I may rest in peace. And I feel like you turned a corner there. And maybe in hindsight, if you look back, I didn't really think about it. It's what I saw. It's my truth, anyways.
You mean you think I went?
Well, I saw you. I saw you start going a little harder back towards not caring, and just
Yeah.
we partied and had fun. But
Yeah, no, it,
now you kept going
for
a little
sure.
bit harder, which I think ended up in some of the places where we did downtown and the accidents that happened, and just some of the things that happened. I think that you just had you didn't care as much until you finally met your girl you're with now, and then I saw you change again. So like looking back on it, so that was a
I don't know,
a
man.
rough
I
time.
always felt like I guess I was invincible. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
So far, you would prove that you are.
no, quite the opposite. Like I guess I don't know, like almost just not caring. You know what I mean? You're just
Yeah.
like, oh, a little cocaine here is no problem. A little bit of whiskey here, no problem. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah. Nothing was ever a problem. That was the one thing about you is you were always the life of the party. You know that. We've told you that, right? You were
100%,
always, like I
yeah.
said,
Try to
anybody
be
that-
funny and stuff.
Yeah,
and
you were a blast to hang out with. We were always having a good time. Like it was just nonstop. I don't ever remember you being an upset person or getting upset or being mad. Probably until when did you quit? How long have you not been drinking? Probably about a year before you quit drinking, anyways. I think about
Yeah?
a year before you quit drinking, I few very seldom times would see an angry Vinny. But your entire life, I never saw that Vinny.
Yeah, I guess I mean a lot of people call it maybe a little passive aggressive too, because I mean I have my moments. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, but I never saw an angry Vinny.
no, other that there's like no violence either. You know,
Yeah.
that's funny. I was just actually telling my wife just the other day. I think I got really mad at something, and I was like, you know why I don't unleash like anger? I said because I don't know how to turn it off if I turn it on. And she was like, she goes, I've never seen that. Like just how I don't know, I was mad about something. You
Right.
know? I don't even remember what it was. It might not have been that important or something. Like, yeah. But
Yeah,
no, I mean, it's just like, why?
so I
Be
never-
cool, man, right? You know, that's like, I don't just say that shit because it was cool to, you know, watch on Pulp Fiction. Like, no, it's for real. Be cool.
Yeah. And you were, and I think that kind of leads up to when you quit drinking. So we partied and drank for our entire lives for the most part. But you really put a hard stop to drinking probably a year ago or more.
Almost 2 years,
Almost 2
actually,
years?
in 2.5 months.
All right. So
Yeah,
a
can
couple
you believe
years,
that?
you put a hard stop to it. And like I said, before you stopped drinking, I just started to see elements of angry Vin, which was probably a sign that it was becoming a real problem. Because up till then, it wasn't. It
Yeah,
never seemed to be
okay.
a problem. So you quit drinking a couple years ago. So tell me, I know you got this new
Well, so
stuff going on.
it's okay, kind of diving back to 2006 goes and then 2007. So I remember you and I went to Dumont Dunes. Me, you, and Justin, and some other people. We went out there for like President's Day weekend or whatever. Partied, had a fun time. I remember coming home, and all of a sudden, I felt like something like scratched my cornea or something. You know, like you're out in the sands, you're having fun, and nobody's
yeah.
like wearing like goggles or anything. And I'm like, I remember talking like Jim had just had like eye surgery. Something like happened to his eye, and so I'm telling him, I'm like, yeah, I can't see very well. Like something's weird. And he was like, go to an ophthalmologist right now. Don't mess around with your eyes. And like he was real like, go here, send me this ophthalmologist. And I was like, all right, whatever. Like, yeah, it'll be fine. I'm 27 years old. I'm just
that
like,
was
I'm
the
just,
weekend I almost had a heart attack.
yeah,
Right? That was that. Yes, that was that weekend. Same weekend, right?
Yeah,
okay.
when you lived out in Pahrump.
Yeah, we were in a bad place. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So I remember going to the ophthalmologist, and like to this time, like I've never been to an optometrist. I have perfect vision. Like, just
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, people that can see amazing don't go to the optometrist because they're just like, whatever, I can see fine. You know what I mean? Never went to an optometrist, all that stuff. So I go there and they like dilate my eyes, and I'm just like, oh, well, now I really can't see very well because you just put these drops in my eyes. You know what I mean? That was real hard. That was like February of 2007. All of a sudden, like my eyes started to get like it was like this like little line in my left eye. All of a sudden, it started to get more like it was like my eyesight was getting worse. And
I think you told me at one point it said you felt like you started looking through sand.
right, and it was only in one eye, and I'm like, this is a trip, right? And I'm going to the ophthalmologist. I keep going to like different appointments, and they're like testing me for something and this, and like I'm getting mad because I'm like, you guys are freaking specialists and doctors. What do you mean you don't know what's going on? Because now all of a sudden, now my right eye's starting to be bad too, and I'm like, what the hell? And I remember the last test. Now fast forward, it was like May of 2007. The last test, it was like I was in Clockwork Orange. They put these electrodes in my eye, like these things right here,
Yeah.
and they attached it to the back of my head, and they had me look at a TV screen that had these black and white like checkers, and I'm like sitting here, and they're like, keep your eyes open. I'm like, are you kidding me? You don't have these fucking things attached to your eyes right now. And I remember walking out of there, and I'm still driving at this time because my eyes weren't that bad, I guess, or didn't carry it to get around. This is pre-Lyft, pre-Uber and stuff, right? And I go to finally I'm going to this ophthalmologist, and now he's like a neuro-ophthalmologist. Worst bedside manner ever. I hate this guy, right? Every time I go see him, he's just like, he's not talking to me like how you and I are talking, right? And I'm like, dude, I'm going through this like hard time in my life right now. He's just real analytical, right? And it's funny because he has these test results. And by this time, I'm like Dr. Google and stuff, and like WebMD's out, so I'm starting to kind of figure some things out. And I come across this one eye disease that it's funny when you think back, because I'm definitely not a doctor, but like I diagnosed myself.
You know I love you, brother. Sometimes I forget this messes with you.
No, it's just kind of funny. Because I used to always talk shit. Like I never cry because it makes it harder to see.
I tried to jump over this for you, and you took me back. I was
like, fucking,
trying.
dude, we're going through a timeline.
Yeah. We can cheat. we did it before.
Cheating and trying. Damn, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
So anyways, he was asking me, he's like, have you done some research? And I had done some research, right? And I think I came across this thing called Leber's disease. And I brought it up to him, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, yes, that's actually what you do have. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, motherfucker, why did I have to go through like 4 of these tests to get to this one? You know, like that's, I think, what I said to him also. I was like, well, how come you didn't test me for this 3 months ago, right? And it's so funny because this is when all of a sudden he was cool. And he just kind of put his hand on my shoulder and he goes, because this is the worst one. The other ones we could possibly fix. And I'm like, okay, through process of elimination, I guess you were trying to make it easier for me and stuff like that. And I was just like, okay, what do we do now? And he kind of like just sent me off with a Coke and a smile, like nothing. And I'm just like, I don't know, he told me to like take some vitamins or something like that. And I remember I called you in the parking lot. And I was like, well, we got the diagnosis. And you were like, yeah, what is it? Like, you were excited. And I was like, oh, it's this. And you were like, oh. And I was like, yeah, and there's no cure. And I kind of don't remember what you said, but you were like, dude, we'll figure it out. Like, it is what it is, right? And I remember I quit driving a week later. And I remember the day that I quit driving. I don't remember what day it was, but I was driving down Hollywood. And you know, like, if you're driving when you're looking forward, right, you can see somebody in front of you, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they call them blind spots behind you, but in front of you, you can, right? I didn't see a kid riding a bike until he was right there.
Ouch.
And when I explain that to people, they're like, well, what does that mean? I'm like, well, I didn't see him when he was over there, so I could have hit him.
Right.
And that's where I was like, later car, no more driving.
Buy a driver's license.
Yeah.
You threw that
No, I
brown-
think I kept the driver's license. I was like, it's mine, you know, it's
threw
my
that-
ID and stuff.
Threw
but-
that brown Honda out the window.
Yeah, but so check it out. So it's kind of funny. This is what, and like this kind of works into why I went there too, with the drinking kind of thing and stopping drinking, was because at that time, when your eyes start to go bad, they start to test you for diabetes.
Yeah.
And I remember my diabetes numbers were like 400, and they should be like 120. Like, it was bad. And the doctor was like, yep, you're a diabetic, and that's why. And I'm like, no, this is a little different. You know what I mean? Like, of course, I'm a WebMD, but they put me on diabetes medicine. Now, most people, whenever they're on diabetes medicine, too, when they have diabetes, they change their lives, right? They stop drinking, they start eating better.
But Ronnie just passed. You lost your eyesight.
I went to the
and
bar, dude.
Yeah, you weren't about to stop nothing.
Oh, man, I started figuring out that Jack Daniels was my friend. You
Yeah.
know? I didn't need Chad Taylor. I needed Jack Daniels. No, I'm just playing. It's just, yeah, dude, so I went hard. I went real hard. And
Yeah.
a lot of good times, though, like, you know. But I want to say, like, realistically, because, I mean, for, like, what is that, 2007 until 2021, 14 years of just, like, drinking hard and still being a diabetic and just thinking that, like, oh, I can just take more medicine and, like, I'll be fine. Because Archie even asked me, too. He was like, you never cared before. What made you care this time? And I'm like, I don't know. When I went to my doctor the last time, and I was 41 years old, and he goes, you're not going to make 50. And I did the math, and I was like, that's only 9 years. And I was like, nah. My grandfather died early. He died at 59. And I was like, I don't want to be that.
Of what?
Diabetes.
Got it.
Yeah. Well, it was like heart disease, but he never. And what's crazy?
That
was,
explains why you've taken it so seriously. I always ask myself why you took this. We never took things seriously. Like, seriously.
No,
And
because
we never
it was
talked
just
about
like,
it.
we didn't care, I guess.
I know,
don't
but we also
it's-
didn't talk about it. But I've noticed how you took it so. I wondered why you were so convicted in getting this done, and the connection to your grandfather and that kind of stuff. Like, it makes sense now. I get it. So, apologize for not being more supportive.
No, it's cool.
I thought you were just ready for new friends. Thought we had just grown up.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing too. It's like, you know, maybe. What do they say? Like, the human mind doesn't like fully develop until it's like, you know, until you're like 25 years old, right?
Yeah, they're changing
I'm
that
like,
now.
no, man, maybe mine didn't develop until I was like 40. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because I mean, once I hit 40 and I was like, oh my God. For one, I'm like, I can't believe I got here. I'm like the age of old people now, right? And I got married at 40. You know, I was like, she didn't. Remember how we used to joke? Vinny had a 5-year plan,
Yeah.
right?
You weren't gonna live.
Well, exactly. It's like Vinny. Well, everything in my life was 5 years. I was
Yeah.
at BJ's class for 5 years. I was in New World West for 5 years. I was with Jennifer for 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was that kind of that thing, and it was almost as if like it was funny, but like it was a pattern, right?
Right. Oh, yes. I remember
This
now.
time, I was breaking the pattern. Amber and I were together in 2020 for 10 years, right?
Right.
And now I'm just like, I don't know, man. I felt like it's time to do something different, dude. Like,
Yeah.
and it was, yeah, straight up, I didn't want to die, bro.
It's good to hear. So let's take a quick break real quick. We're going to come back. Okay, have a drink of water, relax for a second, and we're going to finish this out. So we're back. One of the most beautiful things about this room, and Brian just said it. Brian's not mic'd up right now, so I'll say it for him. But he goes, "This room is a weird place where people can be vulnerable." It's something about this room, and I was like, "What is this podcast going to turn into?" Right? And I haven't decided, and I just kind of keep letting it roll, because I'll tell you what I do enjoy is I do enjoy sitting having conversation, especially with you, and like having a real conversation. not the bravado, not the egos, not the, like, we're actually
None of
having
this
a,
was scripted, right? We
right?
just
Yeah,
sit
like
down and talk.
it's
and,
probably the most valuable piece of my life right now, outside of my wife and kids, is these conversations with people that I love and care about. So
That's cool.
I appreciate you for being authentic. I tried to glaze over that one for you, and it caught you. So now let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about why I think you are one of the most inspirational people in the world, and why you're so important to me, and how you've helped me through a ton of things, because something extremely tragic happened to you. Like, losing your eyesight is no, I can't even speak to it. It's no joke. And when that happened to you, and the promise that I made to myself to ensure that I was there for you at all times from here on out, is something that I hope that I'm keeping today still. And I will always be here for you. Is that you kind of took a turn for the worse, a little bit, when you lost your eyesight?
I mean, I got, real disruptive in my life, I guess. We were just saying, too, it's like right even before this happened, too, like because I was still driving, I caught a DUI. And then, like, 6 months later, I caught another one.
Right.
And, like, when that happened and, like, I stopped driving, I guess I was like, well, fuck, I can drink more now because I don't have to drive. And so, like,
Yeah.
I went hard, dude.
Yeah. It was so hard that there ended up times that I lost you. Waking up in front yards,
Yeah.
disappearing, having to call around to hospitals.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
there's some things that happened through those years.
Yeah, that was a hard one, man. That was, what, 2015?
Yeah, I think that's when you started waking up a little bit, when you realized, right?
Well, no, that's when I really should have woke up. That's
Yeah.
when I fell down on my head or whatever.
you got
or,
pushed
like, I
down
got
by
pushed
somebody.
down or whatever
Yeah.
it was. I was in a situation where I just shouldn't have been there. And
Right.
I don't know, dude. You could go coulda, shoulda, woulda, of like how much better my life would have been if I would have quit drinking 8 years ago instead of 2 years ago.
Right. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
But for this 10 years, so 2006 and on, well, actually 2006 to 2012, where were you working? Where were you?
I was with New World
New World?
West.
New World West,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I was
Yeah.
working for the aluminum company,
Uh,
selling aluminum doors and windows to like glass companies. So I was still in the glass and glazing industry.
Right.
I just was on the other side of like more of a distributor, so to speak.
And you had tools to help you see things to get through that job.
No, dude. You know what? I think about it like, so I mean, I gotta really, really love those guys. Ben was the owner of that company, and like my eyesight progression or the loss of it, like went really quick.
That happened fast.
Like all of a sudden, I'm like I said, a week later, I couldn't drive, and I started getting like magnifying glasses, right? And Ben was like, "Well, you know what, Vinny, you're a great salesperson. The customers love you. We'll figure it out together."
Yeah.
And I love him for that because like he gave me a chance, right? Excuse me. Like it was amazing. Now they closed down in 2011, and you had Tangible Color at that
Yeah,
time.
we went back to work together in 2011.
But here's the funny thing though, you were like, "Hey dude, come, you got a job over here with me in the printing business." I'm like, "Bro, I'm blind. I'm not gonna do that." And you were like,
We'll work
"Dude,
it
you
out."
are the best salesperson I know." I was like, "This is like Strictly 10 again."
Right? It was like we repeated.
Yeah. You were like, and I don't know, man. I was fresh. Like I think now. I was. It was probably about 4 years with this like low vision, right? Like I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Sure, let's go be with your best friend. You know.
And we've been doing that since, and
Yeah.
we've been running a print company for a long time now. And
Yeah, I don't color proof. You know.
no, you don't color proof, but I always find myself, I'll see you send emails to people, and for a decade now, and I'll see you send emails and words are spelled wrong or things are different.
That's just because I never learned how to type well. If
I
I would have learned
I
how to
know.
type better, I think that there wouldn't have been an issue.
And
That's the problem.
And you would never tell anybody that you didn't have the vision that someone in this position would normally have. And so sometimes,
Well,
I think
it's
very
like-
few times I would say to people, or I'd say to you, I think maybe I could count on one hand how many times I said to you, "Then you're talking to this person." I mean, we were working with Zappos and some big vendors, and we were working with some serious clients.
Multi-million-dollar clients,
Right,
Fortune
big
500
clients for
yeah.
Oakley and like some big clients. And I'd say, you might want to tell them that you have a vision impairment so they don't think you're like dyslexic, right? Because the typing would come across as
Oh, I can't type the word "the" to save my life. At all. At all. I will tell people that if somebody walks in the door right now and they have a gun to my head and they say type the word "the" 5 times, we're dying.
Yeah. So
Just does not work. And you know, I even slowed down and now my fingers go TEH. That's the way it is.
yeah. So I think a few times, I never wanted to, but I would say you need to double check this and spell check
I
this.
try,
and do
man.
this.
I really do.
But you got really good. You ended up getting a keyboard. You ended up getting a magnifier
Yeah,
machine.
man.
You went to Dieter. Dieter
it's
helped
so
you.
funny. Like there's things out there for people with low vision that are like amazing,
Yeah.
dude. And I remember, what was that thing that we were at Tangible Color, and they brought this thing. It's like the CCTV. You put things under it, it magnifies it, and people can see it. I remember the first thing I looked at was my credit card bill, and I was like, "Fuck." But I remember it was like.
But then you went out and found a girl with a good credit score, so it worked out.
Oh man, yeah, we'll leave that out of the story. But no, I mean, there are things out there for people with low vision that just make their lives like completely like better.
Well,
And
Google.
like me, thank you to like the Blind Center in Nevada and
Yeah.
like Dieter, Department of Employment Training and Rehabilitation and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And
they're
like,
awesome.
yeah. So I mean, you know, we'll just let the world know. Yes, I am visually impaired. I have a visual impairment. It, I guess, will. It doesn't define me though. You know what I mean? And I don't think people are like, that guy's blind. I think people are like, that guy's cool.
It's pretty true. People wouldn't realize or notice you're blind. I mean, you don't show it, you don't say it, you don't see it, and you've never used it as an excuse. And I guess that
I mean, sometimes I will though. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like something like,
yeah,
like
when you're
Amber and I the other day.
being an
were-
ass, sometimes you do.
No, Amber and I the other day, she was like, "Why don't you?" I'm like, "Cause I can't see it. I'm sorry. That's why I don't do it." You know?
Yeah, no, you've done really good with it, and the we don't have to show them on camera, but you can show them to everybody. But the tattoos on your leg and the superheroes and the theme.
Oh yeah,
the
I
theme
mean,
you've
Daredevil
gone
is
with
a blind superhero.
I mean,
That's
you can show
cool.
them if you want, but the tattooing of the superheroes on your body and kind of just rolling with it and never using it as an excuse. I think that was what was the most inspiration for me. Is no matter what we did, or anybody around you, we just knew that we had to help you get through and wear it if we needed
There's
to.
no
but
need
but
for excuses, right?
well, not everybody feels that way, but people like you that push through it, and it's a beautiful thing to not use your disability as an excuse and to keep pushing
Well,
on.
and
That's why.
that's the weird thing where it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just being semantical right now, right? Are we talking like a disability or an incapability, right? Which one sounds better?
I mean, I guess it's whatever you want.
Yeah, right. I don't know. It's I don't know. It's weird.
If you have the right tools and people around you, I think that you've been able to live a pretty productive life without having it affect you too much. And there are a lot of people around you that love you, that do take care of you because you are an amazing human.
Thank you.
And it's important to all of us, just as important it is to you too, right? So I think that's how people don't recognize it most of the time or won't see it, is because you figured out how to get through life without even anybody knowing it.
Yeah.
And it's brave and it's bold and it's amazing, and you should be able to teach others in that position how to get through that. Because
You know, Amber was saying that just the other day. She's like, maybe you need to, and that's where I want to connect, with people in the same like low vision, because I mean this disease that I have, or whatever you want to call it, this optical neuropathy. I mean, I'm only like one of 3 million people in this world, right? Like,
you're special.
I guess I'm
So
very
you're
special.
saying there's a chance.
But she's like, maybe, and of course it's all about like giving back, right? We're like, we want to give back and pay it forward and stuff, and in doing something like that, she's like, maybe it'll help you as well.
It will.
To work with people and to let them know that it's not the end of the world, so to speak. Like, just because I don't see it very well doesn't mean it's gone.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah,
So yeah, we've been discussing something like that.
Good. Well, and your memory is amazing. And I think your memory got even better when you lost your sight. And I think that's a natural occurrence of that.
Photographic memory kind of thing, man. I had to.
Yeah. You still drive around in the car and tell people where to go. Take a left here.
You
Like,
know what,
did
though?
you
That's
say?
only if you pay attention, though. The other day I was taking a lift home from somewhere, and like when I got in, I grabbed my iPad and I was just like looking at something, and I didn't pay attention to where he was, and I looked up and I'm like,
well, I hope he's going the right way because, and I ended up home, so it didn't. You know what I mean? But no, it's like
So you go through this extremely eventful life, and these things happen, and you're here now, and you quit drinking, and you become more clear. And I'm doing the mentor thing, and you're helping along the way, and you're working with all the kids. I mean, you're involved the entire time I'm doing it. I mean, you've been here every step of the way. And recently, a project specific to you that spoke to you was this Raised by Wolves thing. What's the guy's name that you're working with?
well, my business partners are Joe, Jimmy, and Ian.
Yeah, so you meet some guys, you're doing this. So between what you're doing in the print world, taking on this new project that is specific to like the sobriety thing that's been extremely helpful in your life,
Mhm.
and then the going out and potentially working with blind kids, like when I say blind kids or people with these degenerative things, what does the next 10 years for you look like? Like, tell me a little bit about it, what you see. What is, if you could put your kind of dreams or wants out into the world right now, and that manifest destiny thing works, what does the next 10 years of Vinny look like?
I don't know, man. And see, that's where like I think you and I have always differed a little bit. You have a 10-year stare. I live in the moment, right? I know what I'm doing tonight, but I kind of don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. Like, if I were to even just talk about, I don't know, the future, let's not put a label on it, 10 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Of course, my wife and I would still be together because that, shit, we said till death do us part, so that's going to be forever.
So you did make a plan long term.
Yeah,
Well, that's a
I
start.
planted my flag there. The sobriety thing is going to definitely continue.
Yep.
I want more dogs.
Okay.
For sure.
So if the ability came up that you could go and speak to a younger generation of how to get through something like this, would you be up for it?
Yeah, 100%.
If you were able to
See,
go.
because that's the thing. Remember, like, what do we say to people too? Like, I've already lived your future. I
You
have.
say that to people, yes.
Exactly, because like that's the thing, man. Like, we sugarcoated over a lot of stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
I have gone through divorce, stepsisters, brothers, death, all
a lot of
kinds
suicides,
stuff,
a lot of death.
a lot
in
of
your
that
life.
stuff,
Yeah.
all the drugs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All of them, all the alcohol and stuff like that. And I would love to, if I think, I don't know, man. If I woke up many years ago, yes, I think my life would be better today. Earlier.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I really, really do feel that.
Okay.
And I'd love to, I don't know, if somebody hears this story and they're like, hey, I want to talk to that guy and does more, yeah, I'd love to. You know what I mean? I'd love to help some kids. I got a kid right now that has got a kind of a little bit of a heroin addiction, and I'm trying to help him get him into treatment.
Good.
Because that's one thing that Raised by Wolves, all of us within the organization have different things that we battle with, right? Joe and I are more alcohol-based. Jimmy and Ian are a little bit more on the drugs. So if we can take and help people to lead a sober life, I want to do it. Now, if I can take and just help anyone to be happier and better, man, like, whatever, dude.
All right. That's good.
So, yeah, just those things, man. And plus, printing company, it's, up and away, man. We're here to wrap everything. So, yeah, I think that those are the things I see in the future that I would like to continue to see and go.
You want to keep rapping stuff because you enjoy it. Want to help some people.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds like all of us. That's why the right people come into this room. Somehow, all the same people sit on the couch, right? All of us have this altruistic nature, right? There's just something inside of us that wants to help others, and I don't know where it comes from exactly. I think I do, but it comes from a human. Once you see somebody else suffering
It's just
from
love,
something,
man. That's what it is. It's just love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People like to be loved, and then people like to reciprocate and be loved back, dude. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Think about it. Like, when we're happy, we're just happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When we're happy and joking around, we're happy. You know what I'm saying? And energy. Freak, dude, when Dre was sitting here and he was talking about, like, sounds penetrate sales and just all, like, the positive stuff that he was talking about, like, that's real, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of it out there. You just got to choose to let it in. It's got to be that right time. It's amazing. So if there's anything that we're going to do this multiple times. Like, that's one of the best things about this is we have a studio and
just talk, man.
And we're
right?
doing it, and we'll do this many more times. But if there's something that you'd like to tell the younger generation, or maybe even some of these parents, I say, with teenagers or youth that they're working with, like, what would you say to a younger you right now?
Man, I think if I were just see, here the problem is too with, like, when I was growing up though, I don't mean to put my parents on blast or anything, but I was growing up watching them. So, really, not to the kids, man. It's more to the parents. Just know your kids' eyes are open. You know what I mean? And they're watching. They're watching what you're doing.
Yeah, live by example.
Right, 100%. I've got a couple friends right now that I won't put them on blast or anything, but congratulations. I want to say they're 12 weeks now sober. And one of the reasons that they decided that they wanted to, and now I don't know if they're going to continue to not drink, but for right now, why they're not drinking is their kids were growing up, and they were watching and starting to see a little bit more. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm just like, parents, just know, man, these kids aren't. They maybe have their faces down in their phones and stuff, but they're not. Not watching.
They're still watching.
You know?
Yeah. There's a balance in life. Gotta definitely pay attention to your kids. So I will take that as an absolute yes. Live by example. They're watching. It's not what's wrong with the kids. It's what's wrong with the parents. We thought that our parents' were too rough on them. Our parents lightened up a little bit. It seems like maybe my generation started to crack down a little bit more and say, hold on, you let me go a little too far. Let's try and be there a little bit more. And you can actually see that change and watch it happen in the parenting world. So it's enjoyable. It's one thing I love about the world is, and I told Brian I wanted, you can't speak in absolutes. You guys made a joke. So when I think about
Sith Warriors.
Sith Warriors, right? I know nothing about it. It's a Star Wars reference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know the Sith Warriors. So, but absolutes are really hard for me, and the show is kind of about absolutes. Is everybody has their own journey in their own ways, but when you speak in absolutes, you're planting your flag in something that is unchangeable the way you feel. However, all humans change over time, so your feelings are going to change. So I'm very careful these days to try and speak in absolutes and say, at this time, this is the way I feel about this, or this is what I know. That which I do not know could change everything is probably one of my favorite statements. So as currently,
that's a good one.
Yeah, as currently right now, this is how I feel about the situation.
No, agreed.
Could
I mean,
be different.
10 years ago, I would not have planted my flag and said that I'm no longer a non-drinker.
Yeah. No, and
because that's how I felt then, right?
Yeah,
and so now these days, you're right. It's just we like evolved. You know what I mean? And I watched even like my relationships even evolve through just time.
Yeah. And so I guess there are some things that you can commit absolutely to, and that would be love, right? That's love for yourself, love for somebody, love for anything. So maybe that's probably one of the most powerful absolutes. But now I'm gonna have to go through and figure out. But I try and keep it rational.
That's a fun one though, because you know how like we will always sit here and we'll talk about pros and cons to everything, right? Well, let's do a pros and cons to what warrants an absolute and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Sometime, you know, because I could absolutely say I love my mother.
Right.
I absolutely love my family.
Right.
I absolutely love the Beastie Boys. You know what I'm saying? These are like straight absolutes. You know what I'm saying? And yeah. But like and with the family though, it never changed.
If they did something unthinkable that completely destroyed your life and hurt you, it would change.
Agreed. Well, I don't know. With family, does it?
I don't know. Yeah, we're about to get philosophical, and we've got to be careful with that.
Yeah, that's a hard one because we've never had to, right?
So thank you for coming on, number one. We're going to shut this one down. Fun. We're going to do this again. But I love you to death.
I love you too,
if anybody ever wants to find a best friend, you can't have mine. Yeah, he's the
Dial
best.
Dial 1-800-VINNIE.
You can't have him. But I appreciate you, love you, and let's do this some more.
Hell yeah.
All right, brother.